Hello, today we shall study the basics of winding. Let us see where the winding process appears after spinning. So this is a flowchart of weaving where we get the yarn in the form of a spinner's package, and this particular yarn may go either for warp preparation or it can go for weft preparation. In case of warp preparation, the first process would be winding, in which the final package that is produced is either a cone or a cheese. After winding, it goes on warping, then sizing, then drawing in, and then weaving. In case of a weft preparation, again it would go as for winding, either in the form of a cone, cheese, or a pern, and directly it goes as weft for weaving, either on shuttle or shuttleless loops. So with this background, let us see what are the objects of winding. To produce a suitable package for subsequent process, the package would be larger in size so as to increase the efficiency of the downstream process by reducing the creeling time. If the packages that would go on the subsequent processes, that is warping, would be very small in size, then you would need a lot of creeling to be done because the packages would get exhausted very soon. So to avoid that and increase the efficiency of the downstream processes, that is warping, sizing, and so on, what we do is we convert these small packages that come from ring spinning in the form of a spinner's package into a large package. So that's the first object of winding. The second object would be to remove the objectionable faults in the original yarn so as to avoid yarn breakages. Again, if there were yarn breakages in the subsequent processes after spinning, then what would happen is it would reduce the efficiency uh, by stopping the production due to yarn breakages. So because of that, again the efficiency would reduce. So with these two objects in mind, that is producing a large size package and at the same time removing the objectionable faults, winding process is done after spinning. So for effective winding, there are two conditions that are very important. The package must have rotational motion for winding, and the second thing is that it should have some amount of traverse so that the entire length of the package is covered by winding. Otherwise the yarn would be wound at the same place, which is undesirable. So let us see what are the types of packages that can be made out of a spinner's package that we get. The packages may be either parallel wound or cross wound. So these are the diagrams which I will explain shortly. The first two diagrams let us look at. This is a parallel wound package, and these are cross wound packages, which is this is the cheese which is shown and this is the cone. First let us start seeing the differences between parallel wound and cross wound. In the case of parallel wound, that is the first diagram here, yarns are laid parallel to each other, and in the second case we can see that the yarns are laid on the package at a considerable angle. In the first case, the advantage is that it gives us the maximum yarn content in this particular package, whereas in cross wound the package yarn content is low. In the first case, parallel wound, you have an unstable package that is formed, which is a disadvantage, and the coils might collapse from the sides, which is known as slough off, and hence in such a package you will always require flanges on either sides. In the case of cross wound, there is a good stability of package and the yarn changes direction at the edge of the package. As you can see, it will reach the edge and again reverse its direction while it is winding. Now let us see the next two diagrams. These two diagrams show the withdrawal from such packages. The first one shows the withdrawal from a parallel wound package, and this shows the withdrawal from a cross wound package. So let us see whether there are any advantages and disadvantages during unwinding. So during withdrawal of yarn from such packages, that is in case of parallel wound, in the next process, package is needed to be rotated. As you can see, the package needs to be rotated, which puts an unnecessary tension on the yarn leading to breakages. When you are pulling this whole package, whatever weight this package may be, it will keep rotating along as the yarn is being pulled, and a lot of tension is being put on the yarns, which might lead to breakages. Whereas in this case, where cross-wound packages are, as far as cross-wound packages are concerned, overall over-end withdrawal is possible, and hence no need of package rotation during withdrawal. You can see the package is stationary and the end is just withdrawn over the edge or over the end. But such over end withdrawals adds or subtracts one twist in the delivered yarn. So coming to the next point, during unwinding, if the machine stops, in case of parallel wound, for some reason if the machine is stopped, the package continues to rotate due to inertia. Because of its weight, it will keep on rotating, and the yarn delivered from the package, and therefore such packages are unsuitable for high-speed machines in the downstream processes. So if this kind of situation happens that the machine stops, then the yarn would the package would keep on rotating, and yarn is being kept on delivering. The package keeps on delivering the yarn, and that's why in case of high-speed machines, this kind of package will not work. Package is stationary during unwinding in case of cross wound, and hence in case of machine stoppages, the yarn delivery is instantly stopped, and therefore cross wound packages are suitable for high speed machines in the downstream process. So let us see what kind of packages are made as parallel wound. Parallel wound packages are suitable for monofilament yarns that do not form a suitable cross wound package. Monofilament yarns cannot, I mean, if you make a cross wound package out of it, there may be still be some kind of slough offs. So in such cases, we would have to go for a parallel wound package which flanges, and such kind of package is also suitable for weaver's beam and warper's beam, whereas cones and cheese are wound by cross winding. So after seeing the types of packages, we see the parameters that specify a cone and a cheese. So when it comes to a cone, this is the cone. There are three important parameters which would describe this. That is the traverse length, which is shown here, the length of the cone, the base diameter, that is the base, whatever diameter is there, and the taper. Taper means the angle that is shown here. Now this angle can be, if you extend the sides and you get an angle over here, this angle can be in ranges like this: 3 degrees 30 minutes, 4 degrees 20 minutes, 5 degrees 57, or maybe even 9 degrees 15 minutes. Such angles are widely used. So as this angle goes on increasing, this slope goes on increasing, and such wide angle cones are used for knitting. So you come to cheese. Cheese has got only two major parameters that describe it. That is the traverse length, which is the length of the package, and the diameter of the package. So generally a cone is preferred since friction during unwinding can be avoided. As you can see, if there is a slanted sides, then during withdrawal it becomes easier and there is less friction involved in case of unwinding. Traverse length is a distance. Now let us see the parameters that how it is defined. Traverse length is the distance that the yarn feeding guide travels for a single traverse. So the yarn guide has to travel to put the coils on the package. So the distance that it travels in one single time from left to right or right to left, that particular length is known as a traverse length. Coming to the next point, it normally remains constant, but for a pineapple package, the traverse length gradually decreases as the package builds up. So normally this traverse length would be constant, like for example, whether it is a cone or a cheese, it is constant. But in case of packages like this pineapple package, you see that the first layer is wound at a larger distance, and gradually the lift or the traverse length keeps on reducing as you come towards the full package. So this kind of a package will not have a constant traverse length, and it gradually decreases as the package builds up. So let us see what is the angle of wind. It is angle made by the yarn with the package end. So when you look at this particular diagram, this is the yarn that the coil is laid, and this coil, whatever angle it makes with the package end, that is the side of this side of the package, end of the package, is known as angle of wind, and it is called as theta. You have one more angle, which is the coil angle, alpha. It is angle made by the yarn with the axis of the package. That is this particular angle which it makes with this is the axis of the package, and this is the angle that it makes. This is known as alpha. The angle of wind and coil angle are complementary angles, and they add up to 90. As you can see, this would add up to 90 degrees. So let us see tan theta. How do we calculate tan theta? The yarn angle of wind mainly influences the package density. So therefore, this angle of wind becomes a very important parameter to understand. So let us have a look at this particular diagram here. where we see that on the in the x-axis direction, there is a traverse speed because the yarn will be moving in this direction as it is being wound, and the package is being rotated in this particular direction, upward direction. So this you can term it as a surface speed, and the angle between between the diagonal and the surface speed would be the angle theta. So tan theta would be opposite side upon adjacent side, which is traverse speed upon surface speed. So if you look at the surface speed, it is pi into diameter of the package into RPM of the package in case of drum driven machines. So, and traverse speed is equal to distance covered in one double traverse divided by time taken for one double traverse. So whatever distance it covers, suppose the yarn guide takes x amount of time, or this is the distance x that it covers in one double traverse, that is going from left to right and right to left, that distance divided by time that it takes for completing this one double traverse would be the traverse speed. It is distance upon time basically. So we can write this distance upon time as distance covered in one double traverse. The same thing is repeated here. Time taken would be number of revolutions per double traverse divided by RPM of the drum. So by replacing time taken for one double traverse by this, we get the final formula as 2 into traverse length into RPM of the drum divided by number of revolutions per double traverse. So this is the final formula for traverse speed. Now how did this come 2 into traverse length? It is the distance covered in one double traverse. So once when it comes from goes from left to right, and the second it goes from right to left, this is one double traverse, and this is nothing but 2 into traverse length, and this RPM has been of the drum has been brought in the numerator, and this is the same formula that is there. From the above equation, it is seen that the traverse speed of the yarn must be precisely controlled. So if we are able to control the traverse speed of the yarn, then we can easily control theta over here. So coming to the next important term in winding is the wind or the wind ratio. It is the number of revolutions made by the package, that is number of coils wound on the package during the time taken by the yarn guide to make a traverse in one direction, say from left to right across the package. So once when the in a one single traverse that the traverse guide takes from say left to right or right to left, so in that one single traverse, the number of revolutions made by the package, that is actually the wind or the wind ratio. So in this case, in the diagram, you can see the yarn would travel from left to right in 1.5 coils. So this would be one single traverse. So traverse ratio is 2 times that of wind. That is, it is the number of revolutions made by the package during the time taken by the yarn guide to make a to and fro traverse. That means from left to right and then right to left. How many coils it has been laid during this particular traverse. So it is 2 times wind, and therefore in this case it would be traverse ratio would be 3. So these were some of the important terms that we have learned, and in the next lecture we will see in depth how these various parameters will affect package density. So with this we end this particular lecture. Thank you.